This is Baruch at the Tikkun Elevator Kolo, and what you're looking at is the outside cover of one of the many books that have been put out by this rabbi who's the Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva, the Kabbalah Yeshiva in Jerusalem. It's Ashkenaz, called Shaar Shemayim. And he's, I don't know exactly what his lineage is. I'd like to know a lot more about it. He mentions at the beginning of the book his father's name, and his family name really is Rappaport. So like a lot of people had switched names, and maybe that's what it is. I'd like to know, but the thinking here is clear. One of the more difficult subjects in all of Kabbalah is the concept of Hakavanot, Tiva Kavanos. And it's all written, basically brings the Rav, that is the ARI Kodesh and the Shaar Hakavanot, and he gives us a running commentary on it. So this is called, then in the back he has the Rishash. Well, the Rishash is really a deeper look at the movement of the light of God, how it's working. And this is on Sfiras Omer, so we'll be getting started in a minute, and so we'll come out and see what's playing on page Mem. Now, in the blurb, his little blurb at the top, he says, Nizboyer lama anamam shichin b'mei ha'omer. Why are we pulling down during this time? Rak mochin de chabad chagtam. I believe that's where we're at right now. So we're look down below and number Vav in the Tiva Kavanos. So first of all, he says this. He said, Chabad Chagtam. So he started, what about the Kesser? He says, we never counted. So he said, so he says, the Kesser shall call parts of Em Nimna is never counted, L'olam. B'minyan the Spheros, when you start counting the Spheros. It says that Kavan Shachakesser shall call parts of Hu Chelik Mount parts of Shalom Memeno. As we know, he's going to say a few things we've seen before. So Kenega the Kesser the Zer Anpin Hu Shlish Tachton the Tiferes the Tevuna. So it would be, talking generally speaking, it would be the lower third of the Tiferes the Tevuna winds up on the crown of Zer Anpin. The spiritual parts of the Elyon, so it really is counted in the parts above it. V'lechein haschalas minyan as a spiritual called parts of the called olam. So therefore, the reason why is that every olam has a clear 10 partsufim. If you look at it, who misfiris a chachma starts there. V'lechein nikras a chachma reishis kedechsiv reishis chachma. So therefore, it's called. That's the beginning. That's a little drush we've heard before. So he said, kasher nisbar v'nimnach sheva spheros. So he said, let's count 7. Now, one question we have right away, why 7? But he says, when you count 7, sheyesh b'men chochma d'zer anpin lamata. And now he lists them. V'heim chochma bina das chesed gevor teferes. So he says, kasher b'ein machshivim as spheros akes. So we don't count that. V'minyan the spheros. The maskil of the spheres of Chochma the Mata. Yesh b'Chochma on Tiferes Sheish Spheros. So you're going to count Spheros. That's going to go from Chochma to, he just counted them out. So he says, he gives it to us again. V'heim Chochma bin the das. So he writes a parenthesis, a little topic we should know. Shekain kasher ein modim as Spheros of Kesser, when we don't count Kesser. Monim, but Makoma in its place on the middle line, the next stage, the pure stage that would refer to the parts of, is the next stage would be Das. So on that middle line, as Spheres of Das, Echesed Gevor Teferes. So then you have, it goes like that. V'sham hu makom ha'aschalos binyan ha'nekeva b'malchut ma'achri Teferes Kanoida. So that's where the construction, that's where the nook starts to grow. B'spheres ha'teferes sham ku ha'aschalos makom ha'midas ha'nuk parts of Rachel. So this is where it begins. Ha'omedes achre zer anpen. Mechachaza shalo l'mata. V'hachaza hu b'sim shlish elyon. The teferes and the chaza is at the end of the upper third of teferes. So it's the chaza, that's the chest. Okay, we're not there yet. V'imahim sheva sefiras. Along with it are 7 sefiras. Genegdem anus sofrim sheva shavuos elu. So there's 7 sefiros, and so therefore that's Chabad Chagtam. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see how we're counting 7 weeks for the 7 sefiros. The Sheish sefiras Chabad Chagat the Zer Anpin. Let's add on to it, Nosem Gam as a Malchus Shehi parts of Rachel Homedet Ma'achrav, which is attached to him at the, if you start a Chochma Bina Das, then you're going to go down a little bit more into Tiferes, the upper third of Tiferes over there, and you're going to get into Malchus, which she's now she's located there. V'yachta Avchem Sheves Sfiros, so together they make 7 Sfiros. Negdem anas sofrim sheva shavuos elu shel Sefiras HaOmer. So this is how we can start counting the 7 weeks of the Sefiras HaOmer. Lahamshik b'kol shavua mochin the Sefirah achos b'sheva Sefiras. So he said the hamshik b'kol every week we're going to bring mochin. This is a concept here. This other concept. Let's see how mochin the Sefirah achos. We're going to bring it to 1 into Sefirah b'sheva Sefiras. Although of these 7 Sefiras, which are Chagat. Chabad Chagat plus the Mem, which makes it Chagad Chagdam, Moshe Yavor, as will be explained further. Now, I want to see if there was a note here to look at. So it says, "V'kenegdam anas sofrim sheva shavuos elu." So let me get over here where we can see it better. He said, "Medrivik of Rav Kan Mashbach of the Chayra, the Seder his Chalkul Sam Shachas and Mochin the Sfirahu, Shebekal Shavua Nimshachim Mochin the Sfira Achas Besfiras Chagad Chagdam." So there's Chabad Chagdam. There's 7 of them. Each week you're going to bring Shefa into that. So Amnach of the Ma'aser but in factuality, but Hemshach of Drush, as we go on to this more, there's Bar Ba'ofen Achar. We're going to see that maybe it's a really different way. Shall the Sefiras Adas said from the Sefirah Das, Nimshachim Mochin b'shtei Shavuos. So from there are 2 weeks in which Mochin are Nimshach. B'Shavua Echad HaChasad the Das, B'Shavua HaSheni HaGevuras the Das. So he's just telling us something which I haven't read yet. Really got into this, and the 2nd week is going to be the Gevuras the Das. The Sefiras and Tiferes and Malchus, and then for those. Nimshach and the Mochin the Shneichem b'Shavua Echad, all of them get the whole thing in 1 week. L'chein neked the Rishash. So the Rishash really goes on to that too. I'm not sure what that is yet. So where were we? We went on to the next page. So let's see if I can get a better idea. So it says, Lefi she'i afsher sheyizdavgu zul. Now, here's a strange statement. So the first question I would have, okay, we're going. Lefi she'i afsher sheyizdavgu zul. So it's impossible he makes this statement. There's no possibility until each of those are completely mesukan. So we know that zivug takes place in 10 spheros, not in 7, but he was talking about 7. So this is a good question. So in other words, these are critical spheros in some way. You can't have a yichud between Zachar and Nuk. So how do you build them? You bring down mochin. Who has Seder Talmud? This is where it always goes. There's the Chida and Mamshichin and Mochin is there Anpin V'Luk. In the beginning, you get Mochin coming to the 2. He said V'Nuk, V'Rak Achar Kap, and all that's the Nasach Ziva. But only after the Mochin come in, then there's a possibility for a Yichud. I'm not really sure where he's going with this, where he wants to tell me. So let's go on to the next one. He says, let me just see if. Well, I think there's a number hey down below. Maybe there's something in here. Let's see what it says. The fishi after she is dabgo zone adiyot shevach svirus ele benuyim v'busane ve'elu tehiyah ru'uyim ki the avaoz. Excuse me. Tehiyah ru'uyim lezivug. So you have to have these in order. So what's going on? Mashbe l'charisha maspik lahamshech mochen the shevach svirus halolu. So it's okay just to send it to those spheros. And then it's possible to have a zivug, you're already ready. Bekasha, the lukamon, so we're going to see in the Rosh Hashanah Mavur, begam acher kalos yimechel sfira, even after sfira is over, shekavar nimshukah ha'mamochen la'elach hashavas seviros, which we know after Shavuos that, you've had the amshacha into these 7 spheres is complete. Adayim sark lahashlim gam tikun anai. You still have to work on the tikkun for the nai. He says this is after Shavuos. I don't know how that goes. Let me see if I read that right. Because the lukamon mevor the gam acher kalos yimei hasfira. Okay, so he says the end of the 49 days are over with. Okay, not Shavuos. I'm sorry. Bahashlim gam tikkun anai v'chamshachas hakasarim v'kol zecha naasa b'leil Shavuos. All that it happens does come in the elishol al yedei limud Torah. Barak la'achar shekeshvar nigmar of the hispasha bezer anpin. So he says, and only after that it already was completed, the hispasha bezer anpin, call a mochim mamash, that you're going to have those mochim mamash being mispashed into zer anpin, oz biyom chag hashvuos na'asech yichud v'tzarech iyon. So that's where that yichud is going to take place. There's a lot more to be said about that, so we'll go on. So I think that we did number Yud, we must be on number Yud Aleph. Number Yud Aleph says, V'lehiyoski kol echad me'elech hasheva hi kolulu mekulam. So each one of them has there's a chabad chagdam of the chabad chagdam. V'chein lo mhispik sheva yomim el sheva shavua. So therefore you have to have 7 complete weeks, because a shavua is made out of 7. Because shavua kol sheva yomim. So the question of the number 7 is a whole big deal, but we're looking at the inside of it. It's Zeranpin, and the Nukva is the number 7. So now we want to talk about why we count 7 weeks. The Chordach of the Fi Mashin is Bayer Shetzorek Lahamshek Mochen the Shevet Sviros. That's really what you're trying to do. Modach Madua Lo Sage B'Sheva Yomim. So he says, V'tamu, the reason why is, the fisha calls Sfira Me'elach Hasheva, that is the Chag B'Chagtam, Kolula Gam He B'Sheva Sfiros, crosswise, up, down, and sideways. He says it's also considered that B'Sheva Sfiros Halalu Hainu Shehi Kolula B'Sheva Sfiros Chagtam Chagtam. Pratios. So different, in other words, the parts of it, they could be broken down. It's a and he'll explain. V'lechein sarak meshech sheva yishvuos lahamshech mochen the sheva spheres chalalos. So therefore, you need 7 weeks in order to get it into each week as 7. Because shavua v'yesh sheva yomim v'hem keneged sheva spheres pratios. So that means that there's specific broken down spheres within a sphera. Hakolula b'kol sphera. So he said, V'nimsa, so it comes out like this, number Yud Bet. He said, V'nimsa, I'm just looking down below for a second. V'nimsa ki b'kol shavua me'elach hashev shavuos nisakenes sfira achas b'shev sfiras, and it's scares the Yevet Tikkun takes place in one of the sfiros. Nimsa seder ha'tikunim na'aseh Yemei Sfiras Omer, who should be called Shavua B'Saknim Tikkun HaGavona the Ispashit Mochen. So try to do that. Achad Meshevas Sfiras and Iskaras Achaber Chagdam. It's going to go into one of them. V'Atikun Nimshach Sheva Yomim, so it takes 7 weeks because there's each one of them has 7. And it can negate Sheva Sfiras Apratios shall call Sfira. Ba'ofen Ki B'Shvua Rishon. Now we'll also go through what it looks like a little bit. We're going to take Chochma, and we're going to say the Chochma has a Chaber Chagdam. The V'Shvu Hasheni is a Kenes of Malchus because Sheva B'Kindosachel. Say the Chatikunech of B'Sheves HaShavuos is this. Shavgal Shvua, Nisaken Sfira Achas L'fi HaSeder, we have a Tikkun that takes place according to in its order. B'shvua Rishon Sfiras HaChochma the Zer Anpen, B'shvua Hasheni Sfiras Abina, V'chein Holo until you get to the end. Ad the Shavua Shvi Shabo Nisakin the Malchut B'Mesher Sheva Yom. It takes 7 days to get the complete tikkun going over there in any of them. In Malchus, now we're down in Malchus, so his Sheva may call Shavua V'Shavua Nisakin called Sheva HaSfiras HaPratya. So in each week there's 7 different parts. It's a really easy thing to understand it this way. Shukal Acham Mechasfiras and Iskaras Kafisha Yavor, that each one of them, as we have mentioned previously. Let's just look. There's a little note down here, so let's just look at it and see if I can make any sense out of it. So he says number Vav, it's at the bottom. V'liyoski call echad me'elach hasheva he kolula mekulam. Da, he says no. The be'etzem call sefira kolula me'eser sfiros. So don't forget that. It all forgets bepratios. And what are they? The Chabad, where is it? Chagad Nehim. These are 10 spheros. 1 second. It's like Masha Omer Khan, what is saying over here. Masha Omer Bekan Shakol Achaz Kulul Rock Mechabad Chaktam. Who the fish be Mechad Spheres Nimshachim Mochim Rock Lechelak Mechad Spheres Apratius shall call Spheres Klalis. So that's all that's happening is really only dealing with these. He said the kulam, but not to the whole, that is to the keser, and not to the nine. Okay, I'm just wondering why keser. Keser's from another part to really reach upward. What's with the nine? I don't know. Okay, a masker rock as has spheres apratius. So here we're mentioning only the specific spheres. Nimshachim amochim b'mechad sphera. Limsa shebera sphera nimshachim mochim rock the spheres chabad chagdam. That's what happens. Apratius. So it's going into the chabad chagdam, which is the slots on underneath either of the big clouds. Apratius shall call acham as spheres chagad chagdam. So it brings it into one of the parts of all of the Chagad Chagdam HaKlalis. V'chamshachas b'mochel the spheres nai, so that part, HaKlali is the Zer Anpin. So now you have a problem here because there's nothing going to the nai at all. V'chein the spheres nai, Apratius, the spheres Chabad Chagdam, so there is also a nai that goes around with each one of them. There should be a nai in there. Chagad Chagdam, HaKlalius, which we're talking about the general of them, each one of them, what happened to their night? Calls out Naasa Beleil Chag Shavuos, as we know already. Kamavucha the Gemara B'drash the Shavuos. We'll see that over there. Okay, so now we are. We have just a little bit more time. Let's look at a little bit more. Now he said V'shtei Derachim B'Seidach Shachas HaMochin. There are 2 different ways to understand how the Mochin come in. We just heard one. So let's see. He says like this: Yud Gimel. Yud Gimel, Yud Daud. Here's Yud Daud. He said, what I think, my pitiful thinking is and they're both right. Mavar Marchu the Zilcha, Shtei Mahalchim, 2 different paths. Bepirit Seidach is Chalkos Atikun, Lifi Hashivuas V'Hayamim. So even though it looks like the same, the 2 Mahalkim, Sostrim Zeh, be after the Yosh Nechem Ge'echot, Afal Pikain Kosev Maraku the Shnechem Emes. So now let's see what he's got, how much time we have here. So we'll do as much as we can of this. But the Toelas, so it comes to actually what's going on. Hayinyan Naknim the Vayar Biktsas as Shnei Derachim. So let's try to get this going so we can understand it. More call Acham Meshevet Sefiras Chabad Chagtam. Kulula Ba'atzmam Gam he Meshevet Sefiras Pratios. Each one of them, that is the Chochma of the Chagad Chagtam, is a Chabad Chagtam within it. So he said Chabad Chagtam. V'hamachalak Arishon B'zeh. So how does this work out? It's like this. Hu Shebekol Shavua. Every week, Misaknim Rak Sfira Achas, we make a tikkun only in one Sfira, Kalalis, Me'ilach HaShevet Sfiras Chabad Chagtam. So we start on 1 week is going to be Chachma, the next week Bina, like that. Shebekol, let's see how it goes. Shabakol, there's the Richos over in the on the Shefa, which we'll look at in another time. So how much more time I have here? So B'yom Na'asa Tikun Ba'acham Mesheves Sefiras Chabad Chagtam. So it makes a Tikun there. A Prati Shel Osech Sefira Klali. So in Chokol, like I said, you're going to be working on the Chabad Chagtam of that. Kagom B'Shvu HaRishon Yom Rishon Chachma the Chachma. Yom Sheni Bina the Chachma, Yom Shlishi Das the Chachma, B'Shvu Sheni, Yom Rishon Chachma the Bina, Yom Sheni Bina the Bina. You go like that down the line. Yom Shlishi Das the Bina, V'chein Hala Ad Al Derek Zem. That's I guess this is where we'll stop. Well, we could try a little bit. We have like 2 minutes maybe. Veilach HaMechalach HaSheni. Let's talk about this one. So we were looking at the prat, not the klal. Rabbi shall call Hashavas Sfiras HaKlalius. B'shvu HaRishon Mesaktim as Sfiras HaChochma HaPratius shall call Achaz Misfiras Chabad Chagdam. So each one of them is going to get a Chochma. So it takes 7 days. A klal is called Echad Biyomo. Each one of them in its day. V'shu HaSheni, so in the V'shu HaSheni, Misaklim as Spheres Bina Pratius shall call Achas Misspheres Chagbet Chadtam. So it's going to be the Binas across the board. There are going to be 7 of them. Claudius. V'shu HaShlishi Misaklim as the Spheres Das Pratius shall call Achas Misspheres Chagbet Chadtam. You work on the Das. All this was like, I'm looking at it. I know we have the drawings. I'm not bringing them out. That we have the drawings of the Misspheres Chabad Chagtam, Chagdal Klalius. V'chein Chala also further on like this. Nimsa. Haseder ku b'shvu Rishon, Yom Rishon, Chochma the Chochma, Yom Sheni, Chochma the Bina, Yom Shlishi, Chochma the Das, etc. Etc. B'shvu Sheni, Yom Rishon, he says is going to be Bina the Chochma, Yom Sheni, Bina the Bina, Yom Shlishi, Bina the Das. So these are the different ways that you could look at it. You could look at it forward, you could look at it backwards. So to satisfy myself, I say to myself, well, there's really no space here. It's really no up and down, no right and left. It's all these things. Okay, anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for learning with me.